Earlier today, I've spoke to Prita Ghozie, financial planner, to discuss more about inflation school fees. So let's take a look.
So hello, Prita. Thank you very much for your time. And as we know that we are entering a new academic year from now, and for myself, I as a parent, this is quite a big issue to how to calculate our money for the new different academic year, since is we can say it's post-pandemic, and we are starting to face school fees again, going offline again. Some school even ask for advance payment to save a seat even. For example, in elementary school, even though the child is only 3 years old. So yeah, the issue maybe for myself, if I can take a step back time at a time, the school fee for toddler, it's quite expensive then for let's say for elementary school. So how do you see this situation, particularly post-pandemic?
Okay, thank you for the question. Basically, if we are required to make a pre-registration, sometimes you also need to pay in advance. It is a matter of demand and supply because some popular schools have a very high demand. But the capacity of the school is very limited. Therefore, they want to secure the funding for the school from the students that is actually is very keen to enter the school, not just to for trial and error. So therefore, some schools requires advance payment just to secure the spot. Moreover, some of the school also facing changes because perhaps the student itself is not actually keen to enter the school, and then or perhaps the parents move to another city, so they can actually sell the spot to new or other candidate. Therefore, the pricing of the school fees also varies, and as we as a parent also face an increase in the pricing of the school, the tuition fee, and also the development fee because of this demand and supply phenomenon.
Right, interesting. So the keyword is demand and supply. We have to, we as parents, we have to understand this situation. Even if when we are talking this one as education for our children. So maybe our next question, in your opinion, when is the right time we should prepare our children's school fund with this particularly situation?
Yes, because we understand that education fund is not cheap. We need budget for that. So parents is encouraged to start as early as possible, as early as perhaps when they still planning to have a child. However, if we already passed that situation, we already passed that moment. So whenever you are ready to start your education fund for your children, then that is the best time. First, we need to estimate the cost of education. When we estimate the cost of education, we also need to understand the factors such as the type of studies that your child may pursue. Perhaps is it still in the kindergarten or already in the primary, middle school, high school, or even universities? And also, will you send your children into a private school or perhaps an overseas even university? And how much is the basic cost of living in that area? Because we must understand that aside from the tuition fee, there is also hidden fees for education funds, such as transportation costs, extracurricular, the after school activities, and also sometimes nowadays children also enter competitions, and then additional course, we call it bimbingan belajar or bimbel, in order just to be able to be accepted into school. Sometimes an elementary student need to join courses like that in order to be accepted. And also for the high school student, I think it's very common, so we can be accepted into the perguruan tinggi negeri in Indonesia because it's very popular. And then second is we need to understand our current financial situation. I also understand that some of the parents also have tight in the budget because they have to allocate their income to pay for mortgage, KPR, or other loans, and also perhaps they're a sandwich generation. They also have to take care of their family, so they're in a very tight budget. However, I strongly suggest everyone to allocate at least 5 to 10% of their income for the education fund. And the last one is we need to determine whether we already have the investment assets, and then we need to fill in the gap. So therefore, we need to monitor and evaluate our portfolio for education fund.
Interesting. At least you mentioned three crucial points for we parents to prepare, even if when we talk about education for children, so we need to plan it, even we don't have the child yet, until the child is going to college, and then also talking about investment fund. So talking about this, maybe you may elaborate more about at this time what kind of investment fund that could be provide, let's say, more contribution for our education fund through the investment.
Okay. The main factor or the main principle is to have saving, investing, protection. Saving is very important because it is actually a stash of cash that we set aside. We call it emergency fund. Why we need the emergency fund? Sometimes the investment that we already prepared is not enough, because sometimes perhaps the children or the child must enter like some kind of additional extra curricular activities, or perhaps they are kids with special needs, etc., etc. And then for the investment part, there are plenty of choices when we want to consider investment for education fund. We must understand our own risk profile, because perhaps if the parent is conservative, so they need to choose an investment asset that is also not having a very fluctuation risk, or perhaps it's not a very high risk in default. But we need to understand also that our education fund must beat the inflation, because the inflation rises between 5% to 20% per annum. It varies for different schools. So we need to choose the investment asset that is possible to beat those kind of inflations. Among parents are very popular to use gold investment, mutual funds, and also bond as a portfolio investment for education fund. Some of the parents that have high risk tolerance, very aggressive, they also consider stock as one of the investment option for children's education fund. Last one is the protection part. Sometimes people say that, oh, that's why I need like some kind of insurance that is especially the special purpose insurance only for education. No, actually, you can also just pick life insurance, the normal one, the general life insurance is fine for the parents as long as you have protection. So therefore, we are securing our child's education fund, even though the parents is not there anymore because of perhaps early deceased parents, but they cannot, because they cannot. So we still need to save up for the education fund. Then the insurance claim can do the job to preserve the education fund for the child.
Right. So I was about to ask about the factor of inflation, but you've mentioned it. However, we know the situation like now internationally. Wars in Ukraine, for example, and the rising oil prices. Maybe we have to understand also the global situation. So related to this, do you think that you've mentioned about 15 to 20% of budget from the inflation rate? Is it still relevant, or you think that we as parents we need to reaccount again that how much inflation affects the increase of children's school fees?
Yes. When we're talking about private schools or state-owned schools in Indonesia, I don't think that the global situation will affect in great degrees for school fees. However, if we enter our child into an international school with international curriculum, perhaps there are exchange rate risks in that situation, because the school itself must pay the license in perhaps other currencies. So that is actually the risk for the parents, and also for parents who is sending their child to overseas university. So those kind of exchange rate risks that we are facing, not necessarily the education fund itself.
Right. So since you have mentioned as well that we as parents need to do from saving to education investment, for example. So maybe you can re-emphasize again, or maybe your tips from Prita. What is the best investment that should be made when preparing a children's education fund with this kind of situation to catch up with the inflation rate with this current situation as well?
Yes. Please ensure that we always have emergency fund at least 3 times our living expenses. And you must also increase the amount of emergency fund according to your dependent. So if you have 1 child, you have 3 children, perhaps the parents with 3 children, they must increase their emergency fund. Second, you need to be more greedy when others are fearful. Meaning that do not be afraid to take higher risk investment as long as it is still under your risk tolerance. However, that's why you need to closely monitor and also evaluate your portfolio, and then you can switch into more conservative investment if you see that you cannot handle the fluctuation in the market. And the last one, always choose school that is according to your financial means, because we need to ensure that all of our children can enjoy the education until they are graduated. So do not take schools that has higher fees. You can actually pay for the the older siblings, but for the sister or the brother, you cannot afford it. So it is very sad situation if that happens. Therefore, please ensure if you have 1, 2, or 3 dependents, 1 or 2, 3 children, you need to ensure that your financial situation can afford the tuition fee until your kids graduated.
Yes, the equality is for the children as well, yeah? In terms of the education fund and budget for them. So, Prita, thank you very much for your insightful and fruitful conversation related to this issue. Hopefully that we can catch up and talking more about this later. Thank you very much for this time.
Thank you.